Do you ever wonder what happens when a man who dreams big actually gets everything he ever wished for, only to have it snatched away in the blink of an eye? A stable government job, a loving wife, 2 young children, and a newly bought home. Yet just one mysterious Valentine's Day evening turned that dream into a horrifying puzzle no one could solve. Not the police, not the doctors, not even the intelligence bureau for whom he worked. This is the chilling true story of Chetan Galana, an IB officer whose sudden death opened a door into secrets that went far deeper than anyone ever imagined. Chetan Galana, a 32-year-old senior technical officer in the Intelligence Bureau, was posted in Delhi. His wife, Anita, was a 28-year-old government school teacher posted in Jalawar, Rajasthan. They had a 5-year-old son and a newborn baby. Despite living apart due to work, their bond seemed strong. Chetan would frequently return to Rajasthan, first visiting his elderly parents in Kota before joining his wife and kids in their newly purchased flat in a housing board colony. To outsiders, their life was the picture of middle-class success. But as you'll see, appearances can be dangerously deceptive. It was February 14th, 2018, Valentine's Day. Chetan had taken a short leave from work and arrived in Rajasthan. As usual, he visited his parents in Kota before heading to Jalawar. Around 6 p.m., he boarded a train and called his wife to inform her he'd be home in about an hour. Anita and the kids waited eagerly. Time passed. Around 7:15 p.m., Anita received a message from Chetan. "I'm coming through Patan by auto." But by 8 p.m., there was still no sign of him. She grew anxious. She tried calling him, but his phone was now switched off. When repeated calls went unanswered, Anita alerted her family. Her brother, Manmohan Meena, immediately rushed to search for Chetan. Following the path Chetan was supposed to take, Manmohan arrived at Ralayata railway crossing on the Jalarapatan Bhawani Mandi road. There, a crowd had gathered. As he pushed through the onlookers, his heart sank. There, lying motionless on the ground, was his brother-in-law, Chetan. Pale, breathless, lifeless. Stricken with disbelief, Manmohan rushed him to SRG hospital, but doctors confirmed the worst. Chetan was already dead. The news sent shockwaves through the family. Chetan's parents were devastated. Anita collapsed in disbelief. Everyone demanded answers. There were no visible injuries, no blood, no signs of trauma or struggle. His clothes were neat, his body unmarked. How could a healthy man just die on the road like that? The police arrived, and the investigation began. But even they were perplexed. A routine post-mortem yielded no conclusive cause of death. The medical panel preserved visceral samples and sent them to Jaipur's forensic science lab for further testing. But for now, all they had were questions and not a single answer. Because Chetan worked in the Intelligence Bureau, speculation ran wild. Could he have been targeted by a foreign agency? Had he discovered sensitive information that made him a threat? Or was this a heart attack? A mysterious illness? His father refused to accept vague guesses. He filed an official complaint with the local police station on February 15th, but no FIR was registered. The police cited Section 174 CRPC and left it at that. Days turned into weeks. The case stagnated. With no proof of foul play, authorities hesitated to dig deeper, but Chetan's family couldn't rest. Chetan's father, Mahadev, wasn't ready to let the matter die. He ran from the police station to senior officers to the SP's office, yet no one took initiative. On March 9th, he submitted a written complaint to the chief judicial magistrate. The next day, the histopathology report arrived. Still, it offered no clarity. The mystery deepened. It had now been nearly 2 months since Chetan's death, and the family still had no closure. Their worst fear was taking shape. Chetan's death wasn't just suspicious, it was possibly orchestrated. Finally, on April 12th, after relentless pressure from the family, the court ordered the registration of an FIR under IPC Sections 302, murder, and 120B, criminal conspiracy. A special investigation team, SIT, was formed, led by the additional SP. The police began a systematic probe, retracing Chetan's movements on February 14th, questioning friends, family, and colleagues in Delhi and Rajasthan, and reviewing his call records. They discovered that his phone remained active long after he was found unconscious, only to be switched off later. But the phone was missing when his body was found. So, who had it? The police found a disturbing lead. Whoever messaged Anita at 7:15 p.m. claiming to be Chetan might not have been Chetan at all. That text could have been a decoy, to buy time, to mislead. As they dug deeper, they began to suspect someone had taken his phone, and perhaps his life. But who would want Chetan dead? What motive could justify such a carefully executed plan? And more importantly, what if the killer was someone close? Just when the investigation seemed to be losing steam, a name kept popping up. Praveen Rathore, a police constable with connections to Anita's past. As police dove into Chetan and Anita's marriage, they uncovered secrets that would twist this story into something no one could have predicted. Because what started as a mysterious death was now revealing the darkest corners of betrayal, obsession, and cold-blooded murder. And that's just the beginning. In the next part, we'll uncover Anita's secret relationship, a dangerous love triangle, and the shocking conspiracy that led to Chetan's murder. But what role did a chemical from a hospital operation theater play in his death? And why did none of the reports detect it? Just when it seemed like Chetan's death was a tragic mystery fated to fade into cold files, a single thread unraveled a storm. A thread tied to a man who often visited Chetan's home, a man his wife Anita fondly called her brother. His name? Praveen Rathore, a constable in the Rajasthan police. On the surface, he was just a family friend. But beneath the surface, a forbidden past and an unthinkable betrayal had started to bubble. And soon, it would explode into one of the most chilling murder plots the state had ever seen. To the world, Anita and Praveen called each other brother and sister. But the truth was far more complicated. They had known each other since childhood. They were neighbors, classmates, and possibly first loves. When their paths separated after school, fate intervened years later when Praveen's wife joined the same school where Anita taught. It felt like destiny had brought them together again. Only this time, both were married to someone else. And yet, the embers of their past were not cold. They were dangerously alive. It was around 2015, during Raksha Bandhan, that the public illusion began. Anita tied a Rakhi on Praveen's wrist in front of her husband, Chetan, declaring him her brother. She told Chetan about their childhood connection. Chetan believed her. Why wouldn't he? But that symbolic thread wasn't a bond of siblinghood. It was camouflage. The truth was, Anita and Praveen were still emotionally entangled. When Anita became pregnant in 2017, Chetan was overjoyed until suspicions began to creep in. Something didn't feel right. His instincts whispered something he didn't want to hear, that the child may not be his. Chetan started noticing strange things. Praveen's frequent visits, his presence in the house even when Chetan wasn't around, the way he treated Anita's newborn, as if the child was his, changing diapers, staying overnight at the hospital during delivery. This wasn't brotherly affection. This was something deeper, darker. Even Chetan's family began to sense it. They warned him. The doubts led to arguments, fights. Anita and Chetan's marriage began to fall apart. When Chetan insisted on a DNA test for the baby, Anita realized the truth would destroy everything. And that's when the conspiracy was born. Praveen, now desperate, began orchestrating a plan that would appear like an accident, or better yet, a natural death. He reached out to an old friend named Shahrukh Khan, a shady RTO agent from the Topakana area. Praveen offered him 3 lakh rupees to arrange Chetan's removal, but Praveen kept Chetan's identity vague. He told Shahrukh that the target was just a guy causing problems for his sister. He didn't mention that Chetan was an officer in the intelligence bureau. Perhaps knowing that might scare Shahrukh off. They tried multiple times to eliminate him, but Chetan kept surviving by sheer luck or perhaps fate. On December 25, 2017, the first attempt was made. A group of men boarded the same train as Chetan when he was returning to Delhi. The plan was to push him out. But it was winter, and people wore scarves and mufflers. The assassins couldn't identify him properly and missed their chance. Another plan involved a staged road accident. A man named Shakir, a truck driver, was offered money to hit Chetan while he was riding his scooter. But even that failed. Chetan survived with minor injuries. Frustrated, Praveen knew he needed something foolproof, something silent, undetectable. That's when he approached a new accomplice, Santosh Nirmal. Santosh worked as a nurse in various hospitals and had access to medical supplies. More importantly, he had knowledge about lethal substances. Praveen asked him for something that could kill instantly, but leave no trace behind. Santosh agreed, and in December 2017, he stole 2 bottles of a powerful hospital-grade drug from an operating room. The chemical was so common in hospitals that no one would suspect it in a murder. In fact, the very doctors conducting Chetan's autopsy used the same drug during surgeries, making it invisible in tests. Praveen practiced using the drug. He learned how to draw it into syringes, how to inject it into muscle without leaving a mark. Meanwhile, he waited for the perfect day. Valentine's Day. He chose the date not just for irony, but because Anita had invited Chetan home, pretending to celebrate the occasion. It was the perfect bait. The plan was cold, calculated, heartless, and this time they would make sure it worked. As Chetan boarded the train that evening, he had no idea he was walking straight into a trap. Shahrukh followed him, monitoring his every move. Meanwhile, Praveen and 2 accomplices waited in a car near the Jalawar railway station. As Chetan stepped off the train and began walking home, thinking about his wife and kids waiting for him, the men intercepted him. They forced him into the car. There, in the back seat, an argument erupted between Chetan and Praveen. It was about the baby, about trust, about betrayal. When Chetan raised his voice, the other men grabbed his arms. Praveen took out the syringe. With swift precision, he injected Chetan in both thighs. The drug worked fast. Within seconds, Chetan grew dizzy. He gasped, lost control, slumped into unconsciousness. Praveen placed his hand over Chetan's nose, ensuring silence. No bruises, no struggle, just death. Then he used Chetan's phone to send a misleading text to Anita, claiming he was on his way via auto rickshaw. It was all a delay tactic. Finally, they dumped his body near the railway crossing, hoping it would look like a sudden natural collapse. But even the perfect plan can have cracks. The autopsy found strange bluish tints on his nails, a possible sign of poisoning. Yet no substance could be detected. Toxicology tests for alcohol, pesticides, cyanide, heavy metals, everything came back negative. Why? Because no one tested for that one surgical drug, the same one the doctors themselves used regularly. That's why it never appeared in reports. That's how close the killers came to getting away with it. But fate had other plans. The case picked up pace when police traced Shahrukh through call records. He cracked under pressure and told everything. The killers, the syringe, the chemical, the real story. And suddenly, all the missing puzzle pieces started falling into place. So now, the truth was out. But would justice follow? As the suspects were hunted down one by one, the police realized something even more disturbing. This was never just a crime of passion. It was a well-funded, multi-step assassination planned with military-like precision. And at the center of it all was a wife, a fake brother, and a deadly lie. The truth was out. Shahrukh Khan, the agent turned accomplice, had spilled every secret. A perfect murder, executed with surgical precision and emotional manipulation, was now exposed layer by layer. But justice, much like the crime itself, would not come easily. Because as each name surfaced, the hunt began, not just for the killers, but for the real mastermind. And among all the conspirators, one name made everyone stop cold. Anita Meena, Chetan's wife, the mother of his children, the woman who had sent him a loving message just before he was murdered. Shahrukh's confession blew the case wide open. He named everyone: Praveen Rathore, Santosh Nirmal, the truck driver Shakir, and even the minor accomplice Prince, who was only 17. But the name that stunned the police the most was Anita's. According to Shahrukh, she wasn't just aware of the plot, she was a part of it from the start. She had passed on Chetan's travel plans, coordinated the day, and made sure her husband would be home on Valentine's Day. Her text messages, though sweet on the surface, were a signal. The target is coming. The police wasted no time. One by one, the suspects were rounded up. On June 19th, 2018, Shahrukh was arrested. On the 21st, they nabbed Shakir, the truck driver. On the 22nd, Nurse Santosh was taken into custody. And by the 24th, even Prince was picked up. Though young, his involvement was clear, and he was sent to a juvenile home. Anita was arrested on June 25th, 2018. Her calmness shocked even the investigators. No tears, no confusion, just quiet defiance. She never imagined the plan would fail, but now the noose was tightening around her and her so-called brother. But where was Praveen Rathore? After Shahrukh's arrest, he vanished. His family claimed he had left on official work, but the police knew better. There was no such assignment. It was a lie. Praveen had sensed the net closing in. For weeks, he remained underground, moving in silence. Then came the tip. A confidential informant revealed his location. On August 18th, 2018, police laid a trap, set up barricades, and finally arrested him, along with the very car used during Chetan's murder. Inside were syringes and empty bottles, the silent weapons of a silent killer. Forensic tests were ordered on the recovered chemical. It matched perfectly with the traces found in Chetan's preserved samples. The drug had finally been identified, one so common in operation theaters that it flew under every medical radar. It was legal, but lethal, and used in the wrong hands, it had become a weapon of murder. the dots now connected. The investigation was airtight. The police had the story, the motive, the tools, and the people. All that remained was justice. The charges were laid out. Under IPC Sections 302, Murder, and 120B, Criminal Conspiracy, the accused were tried in an SCST court. The trial took nearly 7 years, dragging through evidence, cross-examinations, and legal delays. But the final judgment came in May 2025, a moment of closure for Chetan's grieving family. The court sentenced Praveen and Shah Rukh Khan to life imprisonment. Anita and Santosh Nirmal were each sentenced to 14 years in prison, with a fine of 1 lakh rupees. The minor, Prince, had already been released after 3 years in juvenile detention. Only one, Farhan, escaped punishment due to lack of concrete evidence, but for Chetan's father, this was not enough. A life lost so brutally, so intelligently, deserved more. He expressed dissatisfaction with the verdict and hinted at appealing to the Rajasthan High Court for a harsher sentence, especially for his daughter-in-law, who he still couldn't believe had betrayed them all. Anita, the woman who once tied Rakhi on another man's wrist, had played the long game. The court had convicted her. But in the eyes of society, her betrayal was even deeper than the crime. As the final chapter closed, people wondered, why? Why would a mother of 2, a respected teacher, throw everything away? Was it love, lust, madness? Or was Anita simply a master manipulator, someone who used societal norms like Rakhi and brotherhood as camouflage for a secret affair? The courtroom verdict gave a legal answer, but the emotional truth was far murkier. Some said Anita was brainwashed by Praveen. Others believed she orchestrated it all. Even the baby, born in 2017, was suspected to be Praveen's, though a DNA test was never publicly confirmed. Perhaps the darkest realization of all is this: Chetan saw it coming. He sensed something was wrong. He argued. He demanded a DNA test. He warned Anita. But instead of honesty, he got a syringe, a Valentine's Day gift from the people he trusted most. His only crime? Asking too many questions. And for that, a silent needle ended his life. No blood, no wounds, just a disappearing heartbeat. Chetan's story reminds us that sometimes betrayal doesn't come from strangers. It comes from the person sitting next to you, smiling, pretending, planning. It was never just about one man dying, it was about the lie that killed him. And even after years of courtroom battles, something still feels unresolved, because behind every face lies a mask. And sometimes, even the mask believes it's the truth. So now we ask you, the viewer, was Anita just a pawn in Praveen's twisted game of love and revenge? Or was she always the queen, moving all the pieces from the start? Let us know what you think in the comments below.